Hey guys, Sandy here, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing stamping for scrapbookers. Now this is where Sarah, Kaylin, and Christina and I use stamping in our scrapbook layouts. So this month's theme is stamping critters. Now you guys, I went through my stamps. I do not have a lot of critters. This was definitely a struggle finding them. These are Lawn Fawn. It's really high 5. So I have an idea that I'm going to do. I'm going to use all the critters because these are just about all the critters I have in stamps. I'm also pulled out this Happy Birthday set from Brutus Monroe. It's called Birthday Circle, and I'm going to use this. And then I also pulled out my circle dies. So I have a really good idea, at least I think it is. Let's hope it turns out. Let's see what I can do. The first thing I do is kind of figure out where my die cut circles are going to be. Now I have a die cutting machine, so it does not die cut a 12 by 12 sheet of paper, however, so I decided to use an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, figure out where I wanted my die cut circles to be, where my photos were going to be placed, and then I went ahead and placed that through my die cut machine. Then I realized I really didn't like it on white, so I went and grabbed a 12 by 12 sheet of paper, cut it down to the 8.5 by 11 size, and then ran it through my die cut machine that way. I wanted the top layer of my page to have some fun to it, and the white paper I just wasn't feeling it. So now I am taking this khaki sheet of cardstock where I have traced my circles around, and I'm just figuring out where my stamps need to go. And I know I haven't started scrapbooking with the critters yet, but they are coming, I promise. So I'm just figuring out where this stuff needs to go. I am using my 12 by 12 Misty to figure this out. I dropped down a little bit of anti-static powder bag onto my layout just because I don't want the stray embossing powder everywhere. I am using some Brutus Monroe embossing ink, and then I will also be using some Brutus Monroe ultrafine embossing powder in Raven. And then as you can see, I just kind of dump it right on top there, and then I just pour it right back into its little jar, and that too. I emboss a lot. I wouldn't say I emboss every day, but I emboss a lot, and I am still a slob with it. Like all the time, it's still a sloppy situation. I don't know. I don't know. It's usually, one of those things, practice, you get better, but guys, I practice all the daggone time, and it's not better. And that was my favorite part. That where you watch the embossing powder go all smooth and melty. It's like magic, and it's just so awesome, you guys. I just love it so much. So now I'm just adding in stamping some more to fill these circles up, because remember, I have the die cut holes, so you're going to be able to see through the circles. Now, my original idea when I was doing this was I was going to make these all into shaker pockets. I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I went with this. I will definitely make shaker pockets in the future, and I've done it in the past. I've done titles cut out and made shaker pockets with this technique, and I just really, really loved it. So it's not like something I wanted to do and I just never did it. I have done it in the past, but this one I just decided to go with the stamping. Now that is all done, so we're going to put that off to the side, and then you're going to be able to see what it looks like with the paper on top. Now this is where I screwed up. So my original plan was to just put this right on top. But then I realized I wasn't careful with my stamping and embossing, and you could see it through the outside of the page, and I didn't want you to be able to see it. So I'm going to grab another sheet of the khaki cardstock, and then that is going to be my 12 by 12 sheet. Now, I guess I could have made this into an 8.5 by 11 page, But honestly, guys, I didn't want to. I like 12 by 12 pages, and most of the time, if I have an 8.5 by 11 page that I make, I turn it into a 12 by 12. I put it on top of a 12 by 12 sheet. I do something so that it fits into a 12 by 12 page protector to go in my albums. And I'm not exactly sure why that is. I did start scrapbooking with 8.5 by 11. And I have two layouts that are still 8.5 by 2, 3, 4, a couple layouts that are still 8.5 by 11. I think I only did like 5 or 6 layouts, and then I moved to 12 by 12. I just liked the bigger size. Now I am taking some Fun Foam, and I am just popping up the entire back side of that plaid paper. And this is just to make sure that there aren't going to be like dipping down pieces. I hate popping things up and then like it dips down. It just drives me insane. Insane. I hate seeing that. So I'm just using the Fun Foam all over this sheet of paper right here. And then I will add some adhesive to all of the unfun sides and glue that down onto the little stamped background here. Now I am mixing Fun Foam colors. That doesn't bother me whatsoever. You're not going to see it anyway, so I'm not too concerned. I know that might seem like a weird thing, but you know, sometimes people are concerned about it. And I don't remember if it is this layout or the next layout I had created, but I used up all the glue in this Nouveau Deluxe adhesive, so I've moved on to another bottle. I'm just going to go ahead and line that up, and I am super happy with how that turned out. There is my second sheet of khaki cardstock, and I'm going to put that down. Now I toyed with the idea of doing some of these circles just flipped over so you could see the red color, and I decided not to go with that. So here you can see the entire base of the layout. And so far we have stamped and embossed, but we have not stamped the critters, which is our theme this month. But like I said, guys, I promise they're coming. I grabbed some 6x6 papers that I have in my stash, and I trimmed down my 4x6 photos down to 4 by 5 3/4. That way I can get a complete photo mat around my 6x6 papers. And I also think that this might be one of the reasons why I don't have a lot of small scraps anymore with when I cut out paper. So as you guys know, the tiny scraps stress me out. When I have them, I get rid of them. I don't save them. But I also have a lot less scraps, and I think that's because I always had to cut down 12 by 12 papers to mat 4 by 6 photos, because I was like, gotta leave the photo. And you know what? That 1/4 inch that I trim off and use with 6 by 6 papers, I'm not missing anything. And if it was a photo that I couldn't get myself to cut apart, or there was something there that you couldn't cut off, or you would be missing something important, I'd still be doing it. Like, I would still be using the 12 by 12 papers, but using the 6 by 6 papers, amazing. So I was just kind of getting an idea of where I wanted my critters to go on my circles. And then once I have that figured out, I grab my small Misty, or I guess this is the regular size Misty, and I am just going to ink up the animals and pop them down. And then I'm going to add a bunch of extra balloons as well. I don't add more critters. The critters are, like, there's plenty of critters for what my purposes are. I do grab just a, words are failing me, an acrylic block, and I'm just going to stamp on balloons. Now you might be thinking this is one funky way to do your stamping, but I am going to fussy cut them out. I don't have a matching set of dies, so I will have to fussy cut. Now originally my thought was to use these inks with a water brush and paint it on. I didn't really like what happened with it. Like I have done this before. I have painted with my ink pads and a water brush and was happy. But I didn't use watercolor paper. I'm not using a high quality cardstock right here. This is cheap cardstock, and it's just not turning out the way I want to. So I give up on that and put that stuff away, and I'm like, nope. And then I decide to pull out my Arteza brush pens. And this is, I don't think it's the largest set, but it's not the smallest set either. And I just go ahead and color in everything. So I color in all the balloons, and then I color in all the animals. And don't worry, I'm not going to make you guys watch me color everything. I find watching people color not boring, but it stresses me out. And you guys know that I don't, and I can't say that it always stresses me out. Like my daughter sits across from me and colors, and I can sit and watch her, but I think it's because I'm emotionally invested in her and her artwork. But just to watch coloring on a scrapbooking video, that's not my thing whatsoever. And plus, you know, I wasn't doing anything fun with the coloring. The only thing I was coloring was these balloons. Now I do start coloring the animals. Watch, I hope I didn't leave in all the coloring. I was pretty sure I turned this off at some time because I didn't want you guys to have to watch all the coloring. This is a red-brown color, and I am just straight coloring it in, you guys. I'm not doing any shading. I'm not doing anything like that. And there we go. There we go. Didn't make you color at all. And then another thing that I did on top of the balloons, I just popped down my clear embossing pad on top of them, put embossing powder on top of that, and then heat melted it. I wanted my balloons to have a little bit of a different texture than the animals. So my little critters, I've got them figured out where they are going to be. And the fun thing about this stamp set is that they can be hanging down from balloons, or they could be jumping up on a trampoline. The trampoline is also on the stamp set. But since I'm doing a birthday photo, or photos, I decided to go with the hanging down from balloons. Now, because the balloons are small and the animals are tiny, I went ahead and I'm just using some regular old thread for my balloon strings. Now, I could have used embroidery thread, but I felt like they would have been a little too thick for what was going on this layout. I felt that the animals were tiny and that the balloons were small, so it needed to really not have that thick embroidery thread. And you know, you might think embroidery thread's not thick, Sandy. No, it's not, but compared to sewing thread, it's thick. So I'm just trimming those down. I'm kind of figuring out where I want my balloons to be. I am putting adhesive on the back of the balloon, and then I'm putting a pop dot over top of the adhesive just because I don't want my string to fall out. I went ahead and did that with all the balloons and critters, and then I felt like the khaki colored cardstock was missing a little something, so I decided to do a doodly border around it. I do add the date, and then that's all I'm going to do, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to check out everyone else's Stamping for Scrapbookers videos down below, and I will see you guys again real soon for another video.